Getting into picks and bans here for the second game of the day. Cloud9 on the blue side. Team One, they're on the red. Bans coming out from Cloud9, Tristana and Sejuani to start things off, as Elise is banned out by Team One.
Now, one of the picks viewers at home need to be aware of is Olaf for Forlan. This is one of his most successful junglers, 8-1 during the regular season, and it was banned away almost all the time during playoffs away from the jungler. Very big comfort pick for him. He seems to have a lot of success on it. And we're going to see if Cloud9 respects it or if they think they have an answer.
It's like the Rift Rivals meme that I was making before game number one that we almost got cut off and I couldn't finish. But just in case there wasn't enough conversation about that already, do you respect that pick that isn't really a thing in your home region, but you want to disable it from this team that might be able to do some amazing things with it? And Cloud9 says, no, we're not worried about that. We're just going to play to the game that we planned on. Trist, Sejuani, Kalista, Syndra, Thresh, and Elise all banned away, as Xayah is first picked by C9.
Now, One are more than happy to pick themselves the Kog'Maw, but they're going to go for a blind pick powerful mid laner to get Barusa on just a little bit more control, but this is giving away a very powerful bottom lane to the opposition. In a place like Europe, and I feel like in North America, getting the Xayah Rakan bot lane is like a dream come true, especially if you can round things out with a Gragas as well. That's like heaven for the meta composition because you're guaranteed a strong, powerful, heavy engage, winnable, getting even kill potential down the bottom lane, and you have this well-rounded jungler who offers engage, who offers peel, everything you could possibly want.
How will Team One respond to this? I kind of want to bring up a quote from Talkers, another one of the big names in the CB LoL, talking about Team One. And this is kind of some of the frustrations that some of the other teams have had playing against them in that unorthodox forging their own meta style that you were talking about, Vedius, where he said, these guys sometimes seem like they're amateurs who don't know exactly where they are and what they're getting themselves into. They like to scream and talk trash and taunt, and they pick champions that nobody thinks should work, and then they win. And that's what the competition says about this team, so they're not worried about what Cloud9's doing. They're just saying, oh, you want Xayah Rakan? All right, we're going to play our game. And so far, that seems to be the goal here for Team One. They're going to go ahead and grab the Morgana as well, as Cloud9 gets the Galio for themselves, and we head into the second part of the ban.
Wow, now this is very unconventional. From what I am used to, I would never expect a Kog'Maw Morgana to go up against the Xayah Rakan. Now, I understand that Mor can be a pretty effective pick. The Black Shield mitigates both the taunt and the knocker, and with the recent nerf to the speed of the W of Rakan, now scaling with movement speeds are much less compared to before. It's arguably easier to predict, but is it so much? Like, that's still a quick initiation, you know? You got to be pretty quick on the trigger finger when it comes to that Black Shield. So we'll see how well Team One can play in terms of their 2 versus 2, because C9's bottom lane, they had a great performance in the Gauntlet, and I'm looking at them to be one of the big carries coming into this game.
Really like the Orianna ban coming out from Team One. That is one of the comfort picks for Jensen, something that we've seen him carry countless numbers of games on in the NALCS before. He will not be allowed to do that this time around. Jarvan also going to be banned out by one. Cloud9 takes Trundle off the table, and they've got one more ban to throw out before Team One gets their next pick. Where do they decide to focus this one? How exactly do they want to deal with it? Looks like Mundo.
Now that is a big respect ban over to Vert. During their final, Vert brought out the Mundo, I believe, twice during that series, and it was pretty annoying to deal with. Very split push heavy, very much drawing a lot of attention. People thought that with Bramble Vest it would be a big answer. Well, when Vert plays it, it doesn't seem to be. So definitely showing an element of respect towards the Brazilian representatives.
And here we go, Vedius, another carry jungler going to be locked in here. We got to see the Lee Sin in game number 1 coming out from Lion Gaming. Now Team One Esports picking up the Nidalee for themselves, going up against Cloud9.
Now this is a risky composition, Flower.
Yes,
they have no real front line for the side.
They have no any kind of front line, real or imaginary. None of these guys are tanks.
Do you know what they do have, Flowers? Double unsensor. If you guys have checked out my recent picks to watch, one of the things I covered in there was the Nidalee, which has been bringing out more of the supportive style playstyle. Contracts himself brought it out during playoffs or the Gauntlet, one of the two, but he's definitely familiar with the build. And when you have double AD carry, who wouldn't want that second answered sensor coming out to give you that strong mid-game spike?
Cloud9 going to grab their own jungler in that Rek'Sai for contracts, and now we might get to see that LeBlanc go through for these guys, and it looks like they will lock that one in for Jensen.
Ooh, exciting, exciting. And I love this from Team 1. Remember that the Galio was locked in at the end of the first rotation, yet one said, okay, you know what? We think that that's still more likely going to be a top laner, so we're just going to keep banning away mids, try and force Jensen off of his comfort powerful mid laners, but he's still able to get one. You mentioned Rift Rivals earlier. He had an extremely impressive performance on the LeBlanc Dane, and he's continued to demonstrate that throughout the regular season of North America.
Not surprised to see Team 1 lock in the Gnar as their final pick here. They like to split push. You already said it. The top lane is how they like to play their games, and putting Vert on a champion that's capable of doing that is all in the game plan.
So you can already see the 1-3-1 coming out from Team 1. Very much the style that they have had so much success with within their region. You send Lucian off onto one side lane, Gnar off to the other. You get yourself a healthy man and magic resistance to deal with the LeBlanc. And now you're just trying to divide this C9 composition up that is pretty strong at team fighting, but also has this great early game potential with both the LeBlanc and the Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai has been rising in popularity recently, and I'm excited to see him in the hands of Contracts, who to me comes across as this jungler who can and likes to make early game plays, especially set up Jensen for success when he's on these assassin style mids.
Yeah, there's so many things up in the air now that we're wondering who's going to step up for Cloud9. Like, this team was a team that throughout the course of the regular summer split, Jensen was the one who had to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And then we got to see Sneaky really show up during the gauntlet, especially against CLG. Had some amazing hero plays there. But Impact's also another guy that I want to keep my eye on this game, Vedius. Because if you're going up against a team who wins through split pushing, who wins through getting the top laner ahead and having that kind of pressure, well, your top laner needs to be able to deal with that.
Exactly that. And we had a lot of chats, Captain Flowers, about Impact's performance, how it was fairly mixed during the regular season. It seems to get better throughout the second half of the split, and then coming into playoffs and the gauntlet, he seemed to really come into his own. He really did seem to have, ironically, a significant impact on the performance of Cloud9.
And we'll have to see if he can keep that impact up as they go up against Team 1 Esports, Cloud9's first game here in Worlds 2017. And like the analysts were showcasing on the desk, Cloud9 doesn't seem too intimidated by the prospect of their opponents here during the play-in stage. They seem to be pretty confident in their ability to win on this one. I mean, Jensen's quote about, "I still don't know who I'm playing against," after watching the play-in draws.
What surprise! Oh, you're playing against Team 1. There you go.
Well, looks like you're playing up against Team 1, specifically Bruiser here on the Lucian there in the mid lane. Jensen's LeBlanc, always a lot of fun to see. Maybe he can go off, carry this game, do some amazing plays of his own, but he will have to go through Bruiser to do it.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the matchups that we're going to have, because from a player perspective, we've got a lot of exciting players. We've also got a lot of exciting champions showing up in this first game. Like the Nidalee coming out from Forland. This guy, young player from CBLOL, but a big playmaker, very cocky. What you will see from him is that he likes to yell at his opponents.
Just like we heard from Talkers.
Yeah.
They yell and they scream and they taunt.
Exactly, but this guy specifically, when you watch his player cams in the finals, every time his team gets a kill, he's up, he's bumping around, he's like, yeah, do you see that play, do you see that play? This guy has a lot of confidence, and he rides a lot on tempo and advantage and pressure. And Nidalee is a great champion for being able to get that, especially against tanky junglers, because you run into the enemy jungle, you steal away all their camps, and the tanky jungler cannot trade against the early game skirmishing that a Nidalee can provide. But a Rek'Sai, not quite your conventional early game tank, can really match some of the early skirmishing power that Nidalee is looking to provide.
Along with what we're expecting to see based on champions, I also want to touch a little bit on summoner spells, because we do have some mismatches this game. Teleport from Jensen's LeBlanc there in the mid lane. Sneaky and Smoothie getting very aggressive at level 1. Smoothie going in there with the grand entrance, but you've got Teleport compared to the Ignite on the LeBlanc compared to the Lucian there in mid lane. And bottom lane, Smoothie's packing Ignite on this Rakan, but over on the other side, it's Barrier for Absolute. The heal is on Redbird.
And this was something we were talking a little bit about in Game 1, the rush of Armed Sensor. The point of this build, down in the bottom lane, be going for the
Relic Shield.
The Relic Shield, the name I always forget, basically means that you can just invest more gold into your support. Remember, Janna last game had like an 800 gold lead on the enemy support.
It's a little silly.
It's going to be even more significant when you're having all this investment. And the barrier heal is just to give even more peel for the Kog'Maw. But the thing is about this whole composition is, yes, you have the 1-3-1 coming up, but you also have this amazing siege potential, because assuming that the Nidalee does go for the Unholy Grail plus Unsensor build, her E heal that was nerfed on, that was slightly buffed on this patch, plus the attack speed steroid that it gives to your AD carry, you just melt towers. You melt them so quickly, and it just makes your your tower sieging that much stronger.
The one thing you also got to worry about is these early ganks that might be getting set up here. Contracts very patiently waiting. Jensen going in, not going to find success with the chain there. Flashing into the knockup. Contracts are going to make this one happen. Jensen with a flash of his own, but Cloud9, 2 summoners down, and they won't get the kill. Granted, they do get the flash.
Seems a little over-eager there from Jensen. He misses the charm. He's able to proc the passive from his Q, and he still thinks that he has enough damage to be able to get the kill. Maybe he forgot that he was running the teleport rather than the ignite, but either way, they will get the flash out, potentially setting up for another gank onto Bruiser later on into the game.
Bruiser doing a good job surviving in that one. Binding flying out there towards Sneaky. Not really going to be finding the mark just yet. Contracts and Jensen with both flashes down means that these guys are going to have to be a little bit more cautious for now. Smoothie and Sneaky still pushed up here in the bottom lane as Forlan coming around from behind. Binding finding its way onto Sneaky. Maximum range on the spear, but Sneaky gets himself away anyway. Cloud9 still going to be on the losing end of that trade.
So Forlan, he tries to make his own early game plays happen in the bottom lane. Good binding coming out from Redbird, but it will only get the heal out from Sneaky. Still has the flash, and once he gets level 6, it's going to be just as difficult to gank him. But look at the mid lane. Smoothie and Contracts already there, looking to punish the flashless Bruiser. And I feel like this is just so reminiscent of Rift Rivals for me. I remember how much time was invested into the middle lane to set up Jensen for success. When he plays champions like the LeBlanc, C9 is all about trying to get him a lead and make him the primary carry of Cloud9.
And it's that much easier to be the carry with a champion like LeBlanc, when if you look at this enemy team, Vedius, you got 10 summoner spells per team per game of League of Legends, and this game, not one of those 10 is exhaust, meaning when Jensen goes in, he's going to be able to find the damage, provided he hits the chains.
And that's a very squishy team. Even with a Gnar in the mini form, you're still not the tankiest player, which means that Jensen, he has a lot of options in these fights. Typically, one of the big things that LeBlanc struggles with in team fights is that these frontline tanks make it difficult for you to get onto the backline, and you get CC'd up every time you jump in. Well, if you jump in, the only real CC you need to be aware of is the Morgana binding and the ultimate from Gnar, which means that that's actually not that much CC at all. So you have so much room to play around in these fights that Jensen, if set up for success, can have a huge impact. But I'm still keeping my eyes on this top lane. And remember, Team 1, they specialize in playing 1-3-1. They're not about team fights. That's not where they find success. They're about making sure that their top laner, Vert, is in a position where he can carry from the side lanes, and they can play this 1-3-1 or 4-1 playstyle, where they've demonstrated a lot of comfort.
Vert a little bit behind there in the top lane right now, 38 to 43 CS compared to Impact's Galio, but the big story of CS that I'm talking about right now, Vedius, is the mid lane where Jensen has a 20 advantage over Bruiser. We talked about how Jensen and Contracts were a little over-eager trying to get that kill for the first blood, but even though they missed out on it, the control they took over mid lane has really been paying off.
You know, I hear a lot about how Jensen in North America seems to be the most dominant mid laner. Largely you see it in his CS discrepancy, but I believe that he has the highest CSD of all players at Worlds this year. This guy tends to be super dominant, but a lot of it comes from the support that he does get from his team, and he knows exactly what to do with the pressure advantage that he has. He already can, look at this, Smoothie's up in mid lane once again, and Bruce is like, I can't go to my tower, guys. This is so obnoxious. This isn't a 1v1, this is a 3v1. And he's just doing what he can to farm, but now he's at risk of a dive. Level 6 Jensen as well.
Jensen scaring him off into his own
this
jungle.
This is brutal, man. So brutal.
Bruiser's been set heavily behind this game. Team 1 going to need to play around the fact that their mid laner will not be at a power level that they're normally used to playing around. I would assume nobody expects their mid laner to be that far set behind just 7 minutes into the game. And now Forlan's going to come in, look to make some kind of an impact on this lane. Jensen will drop to about 60% HP. Bruiser low on mana here. Forlan going to heal him right back up, continue to shove this wave out as Contract shows up, turns this into a fair 2v2, but nobody really wants to fight it anymore.
Also remember the vet up the top lane.
Vert trying to flex those muscles a little bit here onto Impact. Mega Gnar not going to be accomplishing a whole lot there, as now that he goes back to mini form, Impact returns the favor.
Yeah, so also remember that the thing about Lucian, he's actually very reliant on getting an early game lead. If he's not snowballing the early game, hang on, look at this, Jensen goes super aggressive.
Jensen gets a lot of damage. Even though Forlan comes up, he pretty much just shows up to keep his mid laner alive. Jensen putting so much damage down onto that Lucian.
Yeah, so the thing about Lucian is he is very much about getting an early game lead, and Bruiser thought that if he goes for an early Lucian and then bans away the other mid laners, he can guarantee himself this early start. But welcome to Cloud9. They really like to shut down enemy mid laners and set up their own for success. And he is now having to deal with the repercussions of his choice because he hasn't had that same level of jungle support, especially from a Nidalee who doesn't have that CC to lock down a LeBlanc and really punish the champion for playing hyper-aggressive in lane.
Sneaky and Smoothie continuing to push up here in the bottom side. Small CS lead for them as well. Speaking of CS, I do want to turn attention back up to the top side because Vert does now have a bit of an advantage over Impact 2, which is what you want to see if you're Team 1. Remember, this is the win condition. This is the guy that they're always going to be looking at to set them up for success. So even if mid lane is a bit of a sinking ship right now, and they're trying to stop those leaks and keep that afloat, you can still fall back on Vert, provided the same thing doesn't happen to his league, which it hasn't yet, so they've still got that on track for where they potentially want it.
Yep, I'm sure that's what they're hoping. Meanwhile, Bruiser, again in the middle lane, just really suffering from the pain. Now has some lifesteal, so that will help him a little bit. But with the lane pushing against him and Jensen continuing to play the way Jensen does, the gap just continues to grow. So I love this invade from Forlan, but there is a ward and a collapse coming out from C9.
Forlan trying to steal away that blue buff, forced to flash out over the wall instead. Jensen not going to go immediately after him. Impact potentially gonna go over the wall here. Yep, flash into the taunt, not finding Forlan. Not what Cloud9 needed to see there. Impact just a smidgen too far away as the root comes down onto Contracts. The culling comes out. He loses about 3/4 health from that, and C9's forced to retreat.
So Redbird makes his way up to help the rest of his team because he notices that Smoothie's trying to set up a roam. Both AD carries left in the bottom lane, but nothing really gained for C9 so far in this early game. So return to farm. C9 are happy for this so far because both AD carries are going pretty even. The top lane isn't at such a massive deficit that they really need to worry about the Gnar right now. And it's interesting that Vert decided to go for the double Doran's Blade rather than trying to get himself that early phage where the matchup really starts to swing in the Gnar's favor. But now the flash is down for Impact. I'd love to see a bit of pressure from Forlan up into the top lane. Try and get this Gnar into a position where he can be the split push threat and maybe even draw the LeBlanc away from the rest of the team to allow Bruiser to then come back into the game.
10 minutes, nearly 11 minutes into the game, Vedius, and we still have no objectives claimed, no kills taken. Cloud9 trying to change that now with plenty of pressure here in the mid lane. Smoothie jumping around, keeping his allies protected. More damage going to be applied to this turret, but the rotations do show up from Team WE. Not from Team WE, that was last game, from Team 1. I see an E in the name and I immediately revert to the wrong place, but Team 1 does get their guys in place in time, which means that they will protect that turret from too much damage.
So now C9, they're setting up for the man in Drake. They have pressure in mid. They've pushed up a wave on bot. They've taken themselves the Scuttle Crab too. And they have the TP on Impact in the event that one try to force the fight. I think they should be able to pick up this objective for free unless Team 1 are feeling spicy.
Jensen losing about half his HP to Vert's rotation. Cloud9, 5 men strong here at the Mountain Drake, not allowing Team 1 to get in there and contest that one, and they will get themselves the first objective of the game.
So Impact TP's in preemptively in the anticipation that one might try to answer, and they're fine with this because Jensen has the TP as well. Here comes the ulti from Bruiser, and Jensen goes in.
Jensen going in, finding the chain this time. Bruiser going to be taken low. The root is there. The entrance from Impact will make an impact indeed. First blood for Jensen. Now going to be taken out by Forlan in retaliation. Impact needs to find his way out of this one. Vert and Forlan looking to find this 2 versus 1 kill. Vert, plenty of damage on that Gnar. Continuing to come through on that one. One last auto attack. The boomerang is going to be sidestepped, and the charm for the reversal for Contract.
Forlan tried to give the kill over to his top laner. He wanted to set up Vert for success, but then Contracts comes out at the clutchest moment. The follow-up from Smoothie as well provides enough CC to lock down Vert, enabling them to get the turnaround kill.
You can't make those kinds of plays. Forlan now trying to protect his own red buff, not able to do so, but just take the kill Fire off
Take
the auto
the
attack,
kill.
put that 300 gold under your belt instead of just not getting it at all. Here's a replay of how Jensen found Bruiser.
So Bruiser still doesn't have his flash up. He wanted to just clear the wave and back off, but unfortunately for him, Impact was here. The one laner that hasn't showed up in mid yet finally arrives to the party, is able to get Jensen a kill, and then you'll see Forlan is like, hey, all right, you can take this kill. That's fine, dude. I don't need to get the execute. And then just in the nick of time, the damage reduction from Impact along with the flash knockup, the charm to boot.
And the ignite. He threw
And the ignite.
everything in the kitchen sink in there against him to find that kill in time, and he did do it. Good rotation there from Smoothie, making sure he showed up in time, but also something that's probably going to be on the mind of Forlan, knowing that he could have got that kill onto Impact. Probably see him pull the trigger the next time he gets that opportunity in the future.
And while the gold lead looks close, unfortunately it's the opposite of game one, where now all of the gold that's on the support of Team 1 is making that gold deficit look much smaller than it actually is, because the mid laner is behind just over 1,000 gold. The AD carries are about even. The jungler from Team 1 also behind. Vert, after that death, is now also behind. So the whole top half of the map for Team 1 are struggling in the early game so far. And Cloud9, considering their composition, they're off to a great setup for later on into the game.
You can also take a look at the items. The Gunblade completed for Jensen's LeBlanc. Definitely a power spike on that one. The power of the active, making it so easy to hit the chain and just make the rest of the entirety of your combo go off. Righteous Glory will be the first item for Impact. That's almost completed as well. And we know the kind of playmaking that that item enables, especially for a champion like Galio that can just charge up the taunt, get in there, and land that CC. Binding finds its way out onto Smoothie. A little bit of damage from the Living Artillery. I think this is one of the first times that I've seen Kog'Maw in pro play without the Dogmaw in a long time.
It feels good, man. It feels good.
You don't like the dog?
I hate that skin.
If nothing else, I appreciate it just for the sounds that you get when the W is on. The arf, arf, arf during the middle of every team fight just makes League of Legends a little bit of a brighter place. As damage coming in here from Impact. Bert looking to turn this one around, utilizing the ulti in the Mega Gnar form. Impact walking himself away as Big Ben finds its way into his back. But Sneaky and Smoothie will be working on grabbing that turret first blood here in the bottom lane, and they find it for Cloud9.
So things on a similar trend to what we saw in game one of the day between Team WE and Lion Gaming, where the pool one, or the higher seeded team, C9 and Team WE, seem to get that early game advantage. But the big difference between this now is that C9, they have a lot of engaged tools. Rakan with the Rek'Sai flank, Galio follow-up. So many ways to start fights off. And the one thing about Cloud9 is, come the mid-game, they are a good team-fighting team. And with the dominance that Jensen has over his lane opponent, along with the pressure that Contracts is exerting down the bottom lane, C9 are setting themselves up for these mid-game fights, which is where Team 1 often do struggle because they're so used to playing with side lane pressure. When a team just groups up and runs it down mid, they kind of get flabbergasted and don't know what to do.
Or in this case, runs it down bot. They just found turret first blood. They immediately grab turret second blood in the same lane. And for those of you guys who might not have been looking at the side of your screen just a moment ago, the stat comparison, Jensen normally up around 12 CS at 15 minutes. This game he's up a casual 46, going after Bruiser. Shane finds his way onto that route as here comes Contracts to eat him alive. Getting the kill on the Rek'Sai, number 2 this game, now having to escape as Bert and Forlan make their way into the fight, trying to finish him off. Nice escape from Contracts so far, but he will not get all the way out. Forlan barely going to be escaping the chains. The airborne knockup coming out from Smoothie onto Bert, who will still manage to get himself away from this one. 1 for 1 overall.
But continuous pressure keeps being put onto Bruiser. Still only level 10. The CS discrepancy is building even larger in favor of Jensen. This Lucian is not having the early game that they would have wanted, forcing Team 1 to be in a very tricky situation.
Just so you know, we are now officially at a point where Bruiser has less than 100 gold more than Redbird. The support and the mid laner are 100 gold apart right now on the side of Team 1 Esports, which is really not a good omen for these guys. That Lucian is going to be all aboard the struggle bus, trying to get his way back into relevancy.
So now things
go into the mid game.
Things now pivot for Team 1. All of the eggs are on the absolute basket. He's playing the Kog'Maw. He has the late game threat. You have the Unsensor. Let's see how he handles this dive.
The eggs might get knocked out of the basket only momentarily here. Impact thinking about going into this one, finds the flash into the taunt onto Redbird, who manages to get himself away for now, but the winds of war blow in the favor of Cloud9 and find their mark. Contracts. Hero's entrance will keep him safe from any sort of retaliatory damage. Absolute now going to be taken down by Sneaky. 2 for 0 going the way of Cloud9. The Kog'Maw body will find some damage onto the bottom lane, but that is about it, Vedius.
And Cloud9, they are not slowing down. They know how much stronger Jensen is right now. They can feel the gold advantage in their pockets, and they are forcing Team One to respond. And Team One, rather than just concede the objective, they're trying to find avenues back in, but they are consistently falling short. C9 coming off exceptionally strong in Game 1 of their debut at the World Championship.
And this is what CBLOL fans were worried about. This is why many of them were not ecstatic about Team One being the representative for the CBLOL here at Worlds 2017. They wanted to see one of the teams with the longer standing legacies taking their place. They were worried that Team One might not be up to the task, that their inexperience might end up getting the better of them. I mean, this is a very young team. The roster all only 18 to 19 years old. We talked about how their strategies are very unorthodox. They win through unconventional means. And does that kind of a strategy stand up against these tougher teams? So far, it's not looking like it.
Exactly that. And Team One, they just stayed a little bit too long, unfortunately. They thought that they could hold on to the tower, but they should have backed off sooner. And it just comes back to that experience thing, right? Like, the thing is, within their region, perhaps they're not in this situation, whether it's such a massive deficit in the early game. During the regular season, they did finish 9-5, which...
I mean, they were only third place in their...
Yeah, they were only third place, right? So it wasn't like they were super dominant, but they had this great run in the playoffs. And to come to Worlds is definitely a great opportunity for them. But this composition is very unique. It's very novel. And
yes.
It is exceptionally difficult to execute. And to try this kind of comp against a team in Cloud9 where the organization has been at Worlds for the last 5 years, you know, it's definitely a statement to make. And if you make it work, then great. But they were not expecting that level of pressure to be exerted in the middle lane.
And I like that phrasing of wording it as a statement, because this team, if you look at the way their games ended, even in their own region, wins and losses were both very decisive for them. And when you're decisive, when you both win and lose, what that says is you just go all in on your own game plan. If it works immaculately, you win quickly. If it fails with flying colors, and you lose just as quickly.
Yep.
This team is not a team to say, okay, we're going to have a plan somewhere in the middle, we're going to play it slow and steady, we're going to adapt as we go. They have a plan, and that is the plan.
Yep, and unfortunately for them, even if at this point they try to execute the plan, C9 literally just have to group up mid and force a fight. They know they're stronger, they know they have a front line and tanks, and against this very squishy lineup, they can focus whoever they want. So they're just going to keep grouping up and keep forcing fights.
Jensen jumping in there onto Brewster, losing almost all of his life. A little bit audacious there from the Cloud9 mid laner. Really just trying to blow Brewster out of the game, but Brewster showcasing the fact that he's not that far behind.
Yeah, Brewster very much of the opinion, well, if you want to eat a full culling, then I'll happily give you a full culling. And Jensen's like, hang on a second, you're 50 CS down, how do you still do damage? Which means the Cloud9 will be forced off that tier 2 tower. And they're just going to have to back off for now, but it just means they can spend their gold, Captain Flowers, and that gold lead is not slowing down in favor of Cloud9.
Yeah, gold being invested into items, a lot more useful than gold just sitting in your pocket. Contracts waiting around in this brush as Bert walks towards it, but not going to go any closer for now. Level 9 on the Morgana does mean that he's got that black shield at level 3, the binding at level 5. We do see a lot of Morganas these days not even bother with the Perfect Soil. It's just not in the wheelhouse anymore. So getting that shield stronger and stronger to avoid the burst and the ability to pop it from Cloud9.
And we've talked a lot about things looking pretty dire for Team One, but again, there's still the possibility of the absolute carry. He is playing the Kog'Maw. We know how much damage it can throw out. You can see on Foreland he's working towards the Unholy Grail, and you would expect an Ardent Sensor to follow it up shortly. But even if he doesn't get the Ardent Sensor, you still have great utility for your AD carry in the attack speed surge his heal can provide. They just need to scale now. They need to try and defend, but C9, they're not going to give them that opportunity.
Oh, Foreland in some trouble. Contracts going into the ground, coming out with the ulti, setting up the kill there as Smoothie takes the credit for it. Cloud9 getting themselves back out here. You can see Contracts. I also want to go ahead and highlight the fact This is not Cinderhulk, Knight's Vow, tank for the team, Rek'Sai. This is Warrior, Black Cleaver, carry, duelist, kill people, Rek'Sai. As now Cloud9 with that pick onto the enemy jungler, going to be starting up the Baron only 22 minutes into the game. It's up to Team 1 to stop this. They cannot allow Cloud9 to find this objective this early. Colin coming in over the wall. Vert going to be taking a lot of damage as Absolute grabs the kill onto Contracts, but Impact now there into the back line. They've grabbed the kill onto the enemy top laner as well. Cloud9 seeing if they can chase these guys down. Ultimates expended across the board. Jensen trying to find his way onto Redbird. I talked about that shield value going up, but it's still not enough. Going to be popped nearly instantly. And Absolute is absolutely dead. Brewster's still trying to get his way out of there, but he will just barely survive. Forlan now also up and running yet again to keep this mid laner alive. I don't know how long that's going to be successful, though, because Cloud9 pushing 4 men strong down the mid lane, looking to take out that tier 2. Find it no problem whatsoever and walk themselves away.
And I'm loving the team fight focus from C9, utilizing the Baron to force a fight. The enemy has no jungler. They're forced to contest because if they lose that, the game looks even more dire. So Team 1 naturally come and try to answer, and C9 go, okay, Vert is the biggest threat to us potentially losing this fight. So I'm not going to run the risk. We're just going to turn onto Vert the moment he goes to Mega Gnar, shut him down, and then there should be no danger. And they did it so cleanly. So again, watch Vert here. He's sitting on the front line. He goes into the Mega Gnar form. Instant collapse. He is not that tanky in the early game. They can easily force him down. But what they don't realize is that Absolute is just chunking through their jungler. You talked about how he went for that full damage build, and he ended up paying for it in that moment. But when it's only a Morgana and a Kog'Maw versus a LeBlanc, C9 can very easily chase this one down, and at the very least, get themselves an objective to add to the 3 kills they put themselves up.
More success for Cloud9 means we're at the point in the game now, Vedius, where they have a 6,000 gold lead, as well as a 6-kill lead and 2 Drakes up over their opponents, 5 turrets to 0. All the metrics you can measure the game by going in the favor of Cloud9. Adaptive Helm also completed for Impact, so he's going to be tanky against the magic damage as well as the physical damage from his opponents, thanks to the Righteous Glory and the Ninja Tabby. Want to go ahead and mention what you touched on there in game number 1 about the Adaptive Helm also reducing a lot of the damage from Kog'Maw, considering he is an AP damage champion when you're talking about the on-hit damage from his W, as well as just having extra AP from the Ginsu's Rage Blade, buffing up those living artilleries and just making him stronger in general with the spell casting. Adaptive Helm going to do a lot to reduce that damage output. Morello Namicon also completed for Jensen, means the burst. Oh man, it's scary.
Bramble Vest 2 to just add insult to injury against the double AD carry. Impact, pretty much unkillable.
Yeah. Not a lot going to be taking this guy down very soon, but speaking of stuff getting taken down, Drake number 3 goes away at Cloud9. Sneaky secures that one for the team. Means they're going to have 2 of those now.
It's a trap.
Baron is that much scarier. Redbird, ooh, just barely getting away with the blast cone.
That was half his HP gone in a single hit from the chain. Jensen
Plant to the rescue.
looking a little terrifying right now.
Everybody on Cloud9 is very scary at this point.
That's true. That's
Team 1 pretty much needs to find Cloud9 going too deep, like what we talked about with Jensen, trying to find that kill onto Brewster in the top lane between the 2 turrets. They need to find Cloud9 making some sort of an audacious play and punish them for it.
Yes. It's pretty much on Cloud9 to lose this game now for Team 1 Esports to really stand a chance. Again, we look at the Kog'Maw and we think maybe he could be a potential win condition later on, but given how tanky Impact is and how much solid of a front line, it's going to be challenging. So now I'm very much evaluating how cleanly C9 can close out this game, because if you want to take that convincing first place spot, you want to do it in a convincing style. So being able to get clean victories over your opposition is going to set you up nicely when that group's adjusting to goal.
Forlan trying to go in and steal away Baron. Instead, he only finds his way into the respawn timer for the next 35 seconds. Cloud9 grabbing Baron just shy of 27 minutes. Taking out the enemy jungler in the process. Now they've got that 5 versus 4 push. They send Jensen to split push up into the top lane. The other 4 are going to be set up as a squad here in mid. This is the Baron play that ends up making a huge gold impact in the game.
I like the attempt from Forlan. If they steal it, they're allowed to stall for longer. They have the potential of winning late game fights. But C9, they were ready. even though he gets into the pit, Fulland isn't even close to stealing away the objective. And now with the Baron buff, C9, they just start to play on both mid and top. A slow push in the bottom lane as well. With the Baron empowered minions, it's only a matter of time before one starts to lose those base structures. And
I don't think you can fault Forland for the decision there. I think it comes down to, is the chance of him stealing this better than the chance of us winning the game if we just give it away? And as low as the chance of him stealing it was, I think the answer is yes. I think if you just give the Baron away to Cloud9 there, and you let this current situation play out like it is right now, but without trying to contest it, you're just giving the game away.
Yep.
There's only so many things that you can sit by and abide when you're behind, and that is not one of them.
Precisely right, Captain Flowers. And speaking of, or going back to rather, the aggressive build of contracts, he's rounding things out with a GA. Getting that extra AD in there along with the ability to respawn. Super obnoxious to see that early game item. Now Absolute is in some danger.
Oh, Smoothie wants to go after him, but he's not quite able to find his way in there with the quickness. Tier 3 turret going down though. Impact going into the full lines of Team 1. Not going to find any kills just yet, but Cloud9's not even concerned about that. The name of the game for these guys is objectives. They will find the mid lane inhibitor. Jensen still looking to go for the damage onto Redbird, nearly 100 to zeroing him. Vert trying to go in on these guys. Now he's going to get rooted. Now he's going to get taunted. Winds of War coming out. Team 1 can't do a lot to stop the Cloud9 War machine.
So now Cloud9, after taking the mid inhib, they can send either Jensen or Impact down into the bottom lane. More likely going to be Impact. And then the rest of the members just group up top. They're not even going to go back and base. They're just going to keep the push going. They're going to keep the pressure up onto Team 1 because C9, they want to get this game over with. They want to walk away with the convincing win. And with an easy pick like that, they're well on their way to doing it.
Just so we're fully correct, he was not even past that rock thing in your base. That's the safety area of the map right now for Team 1.
The rock thing.
The rock thing in your base is about as far out as you can go before Jensen can be a threat of 100 to zeroing you. Cloud9 now taking out the top lane inhibitor to go along with the mid one. They've got 2 lanes down. Looking like they're not even that concerned about the bottom lane. Marching up mid now to finish off the Nexus turrets themselves. Absolute still dead for another 10 seconds. Nexus turret number 1 already down. Impact on the front line, dashing in there with the Justice Punch to keep Vert away. Vert does have a full Mega Gnar bar. Contracts finding the Prey Seeker there onto Redbird. Turret nearly going to be falling now. They take Vert down. The last fight of the game going to be breaking out as Brewster gets deleted by Sneaky. A killing spree for the Cloud9 AD carry. Redbird walking himself away, and Cloud9 with a very convincing victory.
Nothing more to say. Clean from Cloud9. They stuck to a very conventional Cloud9 playstyle, which is put Jensen on a carry, invest resources into setting him up for success. Once he has that slight lead, he is the caliber of player that will know exactly what to do with it. And then the rest of the game just started going in their favor. They had full control over the bot lane. Impact was not put at a deficit in the top. And the composition of Team 1 was just consistently punished time and time again.
3 players on Cloud9 did not die. Smoothie, 0 deaths. Sneaky, 0 deaths. Impact, the frontliner, 0 deaths. They controlled the game from start to finish. Contracts died a couple of times, usually because of the fact that, like we said, he was on that riskier build. He was finding kills and then being taken down after his ulti wasn't available to dodge away. But it was all for the good of the team. They played together well as a unit, and this looks like a team that can back up the Twitter trash talk.
Oh, for sure. Very convincing Cloud9. I was impressed. You know, I talked at the very start of this being like, this was the potential group for upsets. Well, if C9 keep playing like that, I feel like, okay, maybe not. Definitely looking like the heavy favorites in this group now, and it just makes that game versus Direwolves all the more exciting later on, especially with the banter they've been having back and forth.
Exactly, and for a lot of these teams from what regions would have been wildcard regions in the past, you're looking at the games up against the Pool 1 seeds as games that are going to be the deck stacked against you.
For
right?
sure,
it's going to be difficult. You know that you're working up a hill to deal with those kinds of teams, and Team 1 will definitely have to group up and think about their strategy moving forward in the play-in stage. But to hear more about that Cloud9 win, let's send it over to Dracos and the analysts.
Thank you, Captain Flowers. Team 1 Esports may have struggled, but Cloud9 came in swinging in the